Yeah, welcome back to my class again today. Now, in this class today, we are going to look at inner class. Inner class is a nested class that is creating a class inside the class. So I'm going to use that concept to demonstrate the relationship between Adam and Eve. So without wasting much time, let's get right in. So what we want to look at today is inner classes, right? So let's create an outer class and then an inner class inside the outer class. So first, let's create an outer class, which is what? Class, uh, let me take it here, class, right? Eden. Now, inside this class, we are going to initialize it. So we'll say def, then double underscore init, double underscore. Now, this class, you're just going to supply the self parameter. No other parameter is needed. Now, in this class, we'll say self dot name, and then we implicitly initialize, give a value to this attribute. So we are going to give Adam to it, right? So we are going to give this Adam inside implicitly into this attribute. We are not going to supply it from outside. Now, in creating an inner class, and when you instantiate an inner class, that object of the inner class can become an attribute of the outer class. So in this place, I'm going to write a code, but what I will use here for now is a pass statement. So I will just put pass here. I'm going to come here to write a code. In this place, I'm going to write a code. So for now, let me just put pass in this place. So I'll say print. Yeah, I'll supply a string to it. The garden of Eden is created, right? Then I'll close this. So I want this to be printed out. Then I will now come here and I will say return. It's not returning anything. Then inside this place, I'm also going to create another method, which is what? Def, and then I will say sleep. Now in this one, I'll supply self to it. Then I will close this. So in it, I will say print self.name. I'll give a format string. So I will say print self.name. Then I will close this. I will say is sleeping. So I will close this and then I will close this. So this is an expression. So when it gets to this expression, because of this format string, it will take whatever value is in this self.name, which is what? Adam. So Adam is sleeping. That's what it's going to print out. Okay. Now in this method, I will now say I'm going to call the inner class method in this place. But before then, I will also put here pass, right? I will come back here and write a code. I will come back here and write a code. I will come back here and write a code. So for now, I'm just putting the pass just to hold that place for me so that when I come back, I'll write the code. Okay. Now I have created my outer class, which is what? Class hidden. And I have two methods inside this outer class. Now I want to create an inner class. I will come here and I will say class man, right? And then I will close this. So this class, I'm going to initialize it. So I will say def double underscore init and then double underscore. This one I will supply self and then I want this inner class to do something in this outer class. Now, for me to be able to access any member of the outer class, right, I have to instantiate that outer class. And then I will have to give that outer class to the inner class, the object of the outer class to the inner class. so that I will use that object to be able to call any member of the inner class, like the attribute or the object or the method. So here I am going to supply outer instance, outer underscore instance, which is the instance of this outer class is going to become part of, is going to be supplied to this inner class. So here I will say self dot outer instance. I'm going to assign this outer instance to it. So outer instance will be saved inside this place. Then here I will say self dot name. Just like this Adam, I'm going to assign if to it. Then here I am going to say print this place. I will say f. I will call my format string. Then I will say here I'm going to say self dot name, which is if should be created. So I will say self dot name, right? Then I will close this. Should be created from, then I'll do this. So now I am going to call this, which is self dot outer instance from, will it be enough? Self dot outer instance dot name. Let me write it. I will explain. This place should be when from ribs. So now, because of this single quote, I am going to change this place to double quote and change this one to double quote, right? Because of this single quote. So I'm changing this to double quote. Now, this is self.name should be created from self.outer-instance.names ribs. So this one will give me if should be created from Adam's ribs. That is what this is going to give me. So I have gotten this here. Then I will now give you return. Now, inside this class, I want to define another method. I don't know if you are still going to be able to see it. So, but let me just write it here. Def, right? And then I will say female. And then you supply self. Yeah. And then you close it. So in this place, you now say print. Then the format string. You will say create self dot name when I'm going to put this same thing. This same thing. I'm going to write it here. Outer instance dot name. Then you cover this and then you close this. Now, having done this, I am going to come back here now to fill up this place. So yeah, what I want to do is I am going to create the instance of this inner class and then I will have it here as an attribute. So this place I will say self dot man. which is what? This. So I am going to instantiate this inner class. So I will say self dot, I'll call the constructor, right? And then I will supply self to it. Because of this outer instance, is expecting one argument. So that argument is what I'm going to supply here, right? So whatever I create, now I'm calling the instance of this inner class. The instance of this inner class, the constructor of this inner class is what I'm going to use to instantiate the class. Now, when I create the object for this inner class, I'm going to have that object saved inside this self.man as an attribute of this outer class. Now, I can now use this, which is the instance of the inner class that I've created, to access this method, which is the inner class from the outer class. So I'm going to come back to this place where I have pass. And then I will say self dot man dot this method, female method. So I'm going to call this. Now, this is my class that I've written. So, but now I am going to instantiate this outer class. But you cannot see this place again. So what should be here? What should be here, right, is what I'm going to put here. So I just need you to follow me. Now I'm going to come here. My class is complete. This is my class. So I'm just going to instantiate this class. Then I will say hidden, right? Then I'll call this constructor. Then I will use this class now to call this sleep method. So I can now say hidden dot sleep. Sleep. So what will this give to me? Now, how is this going to work? Now, when I instantiate this outer class, it will come in here. This hidden will be given to self, and then it will come in. Internally, I will give Adam to what? To name. Then it will come here. It will instantiate this inner class at this point. So control will now be given like this. Control will go from here to this guy. Now, once control get to this guy from this place, it will initialize. And then the instance of this outer class, which is this hidden, will be given to this place. Now it will go in. And then this, right? Okay. Now it will go in. This instance, which is what? The outer instance, will be saved inside self.outer instance. It will be saved here. This outer instance is an attribute of this inner class. But the value of this outer instance, which is what? Which is the object of this outer class, is saved inside this place. Then it will go in. It will say self.name. It will assign this if value to this attribute. Then it will come here and say print self.name should be created from self.outer instance.name reads, which means if, that is self.name, if should be created from self.outer instance.name. This one is what? Using the object of the outer class to access the attribute of that instance, which is what? Self.name. So this self.name is having Adam in it. So if should be created from Adam's ribs. That is what it's going to print out. Then it will return. It will return back to where? To this place. It will come here. It will return back to this place. It will return back here. Then this next line will now print. So the first thing that will be printed out to be if should be created from Adam's ribs. That's what will come on the board. Then it will come back here and it will now print the Garden of Eden is created. Then it will return back to the calling function, which is from here. It will return to this guy. Then it will now do this second instruction, which is what? Eden.sleep, meaning you are calling this sleep method. So it will come in here and it will print self.name, which is what? Adam is sleeping. After that, it will now come to this one. It's going to use this instance, which is self.man, which is the instance that is inside this place, right? The object of the inner class that was created, that is kept here. He will now use it to call this method. So control will now move from here to this guy. Now, when he gets here, it will go in and it will print create if when Adam sleeps. That is what he's going to create. So the first output will be this. This one will be first. Then this one will be second. Um, and then this one will be third. And then finally, it will print this one out as the fourth. So this is the concept of the inner class. I know it's a bit complex, but if you look at the video again and again, you will understand what I've just explained. So let's go to the PyCharm for me to demonstrate this for you to see. This is actually our PyCharm. Now, I don't want this class to be too long. So for that, I wrote the inner class script because it's much. So I'm just going to explain it like I did on the board. Now, this is the outer class, which is what? Eden. And this is the inner class, which is what? Man. So what I did now is I initialized the outer class by just implicitly creating a name and assigning the name to the attribute of the instance that will be created, and that is what? Adam. So it's saved in this self.name. Now, I am now referencing the outer class instance. So by passing a reference of the outer class to the inner class, in this place, I want to create the instance of the inner class. So I pass this self, which is the outer class, as an argument to the what? The constructor of the inner class. This is the inner class, this is the constructor. So I pass the outer class to it, and then the instance of the inner class has been created and saved in this self.man. Now, I instructed it to implement this by printing out the Garden of Eden is created. So I have two methods inside the inner class, the initialization method and a female method. Now, what I did here in this inner class, because I need to access this name of the outer class, so I have to supply an instance of this outer class to the inner class, which I did here. That is this self. So this self is what is given to this outer instance. Now, that instance of the outer class is what I'm saving inside this attribute, self.outer instance of the inner class. Now, I'm also initializing another attribute of the inner class, which is name, with the name if. Then inside it, I'm going to print out this implementation. So I am putting this expression, self.name. So this self.name is this one, this. So that will read if should be created from self.outer instance.name. So I'm using the object of the outer class, which I supplied here, which I have saved inside this place. I am using it now to access this attribute, which is this one, and that is what? Adam. So if should be created from Adam's ribs. That is what this is. Now, inside it, I have this female method. And inside this female method, I'm saying create if when Adam sleeps. So this is what I have created. Now, I am going to instantiate this outer class, and that is what I did here, Eden. Then I call the outer class constructor. So when I do this, it will simply come here and initialize it, and then create this Adam into this place. Then it will now implement this line. So once this line is implemented, access will be given to this outer class. It will come here. It will now assign this if to what? To name. And then it will print if should be created. So the first thing that will be printed out is if should be created from Adam's ribs. So let me execute it. Now you see, if should be created from Adam's ribs, then it will return to this place. And then it will print the Garden of Eden is created, which is what? This second one. Then it will return to what? To this calling function. And then it will now carry out this line. So you can see, I told you before, that even though we are now having object-oriented programming, behind the scene, procedural is still being implemented. So you can see that it's following the procedure. It will go It will go from this up, which is you are creating a class, an object of the outer class. So it will come to this init method and initialize it. After that, inside this place is the next line of action. Now, this next line of action is calling this inner class. Now, it will now implement everything that is here. Then it will return back to what? To this guy. And then implement this, right? So in my script, I have the return here. Inside this place too, I also have return, right? So I also have return. If you execute it, it's still going to give you the same. So that is it. If should be created from Adam's ribs. The Garden of Eden is created. Adam is sleeping. Create if when Adam sleeps. Now, so that is how it works. It's still using procedural pattern, meaning it's still following the procedure to create everything that is needed. But even though it's object-oriented, behind the scene, we are still following line by line. Follow this instruction, next instruction, next instruction, next instruction. That is procedural. So behind the scene, it's still using that concept, right? So this is what I want to show you in this class of the inner class. And I hope you understand it when you watch it over and over again. You see the procedural pattern. It will execute this first. Then when it gets to this place, after creating the instance, in creating the instance, it will give control to this place. And then after that, it will return back to this place. And then it will implement this. Then it will return back to the calling function, which is here. It will return back to this place. Then it will execute this one next. So you are using the object to call the method inside the outer class, which is this. So it will come here and it will print Adam is sleeping. Then it will now use the instance that was kept here, which is what? The object of the inner class. It will now use it to call the female method that is in the inner class. That will now print create if when Adam sleeps. So that is what it has given to you here. So you can see how the relationship between Adam and Eve in the process of creation in the Garden of Eden, inner class, right? So that is what I want to show you in this class. To understand this, watch the video over and over again, and you will understand the concept of the inner class. Don't forget to share. Don't forget to like. And I also want to see your your feedback in the comment section. So till we see in the next class, where I will actually show you singleton class. Till we see in the next class. Bye-bye.